Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, things that we kind of see daily in the world of boxing. That's why it's very, very hard to cover it. Very, very hard to take boxing seriously. And it's so-called the fans or this, you can't really call yourself fans in boxing. It's just so many shenanigans that you just get tired of it. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's why I always call the boxing BTBG. Those that see me a time or two know what I mean by that. Here's another example of things that are just really ridiculous in this thing we keep calling sport, right? You have in the 140-pound division a newly crowned two-division champion, Regis Prograis. Most people that know the 140-pound division know that, Regis Prograis is basically one of the baddest ones there. His only loss to Josh Taylor, and that was controversial. I can remember watching back in the day, and I think I had Josh nicking that one, right? But it was definitely a close fight, and it was a fight at least worthy of a rematch. I think, though, that the general consensus is that Regis Prograis is, at bare minimum, dangerous. Hence two-time champion in the division. He's been there for a while. I thought he would go up a while, but he's kind of short and stocky and dangerous. He's like a little southpaw Mike Tyson, Regis Prograis, and he has that attitude when he comes in the ring. He's like, I'm not really boxing here. I'm trying to knock your head off. We got all that. So basically dangerous. Well, his mandatory is Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez has just turned down the fight. It was supposed to be a 65-35 split, right? Which is absolutely normal, a pretty good split if you ask me for these circumstances. And he's turned the fight down, saying the split's not good enough and he's the mandatory, right? Here's that entitlement. And here's where it's really hard to check out boxing, right? Right now, Terrence Crawford, the very best fighter we have, all these guys, Terrence Crawford beat them all, basically. He's getting backlash for leaving negotiations, basically, where he was getting 35% of Errol Spence fight, right? 35%, no guarantees, 35%. And me personally, I told everybody, who gonna listen. If I was Terrence Crawford, 50% don't call me. To anybody on the planet. I don't care what pay-per-view and all that. And fans, if you're a fan and not on somebody's payroll, that should be what you're thinking. If you're a fan, we shouldn't be talking about pay-per-views all the time. That's what the boxing people should be talking about, the boxers themselves and their promoters and stuff like that. But somebody just fans or interviewing these guys, we shouldn't be saying, hey, man, he has more pay-per-views than you, because that is, that's something that happens because of circumstances, right? Like you were in the right place at the right time, this kind of thing. The right people are promoting you, or your country's behind you, stuff like that. Right? Because we can't really go for that. The very best ones like Canelo, they don't even show his pay-per-view numbers, right? They just say that he's getting a lot, right? Because we have decided that he's going to be the bomb. And, I just think for me, pay-per-view numbers compared to number one pound for pound is a no-brainer to a boxing fan. It's like, oh, that guy's they call him the very best. And you start watching him and you see why, right? Oh, that guy's been undisputed. The number one pound for pounds. Those are the things that kids are saying when they get, get into boxing or any sport. You want to be the very best. You don't really start thinking about pay-per-view numbers until you really get into it later and you're like hoping. But I'm going to tell you guys this. There aren't no black pay-per-view stars, really. If you're as good as Terrence Crawford, you're not a draw, because people are coming to see you get your face bashed in. Now, to this, what's going on recently. You guys see a pattern here, right? Listen, I've seen Jose Ramirez. Let me just name some names. Jose Ramirez, Ryan Garcia, right? Let me see. Teofimo Lopez, Jaime Munguia, and the main one who started all this, why it's in vogue to do so, because there's no repercussions, is Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez didn't have to fight Demetrius Andrade, and for everything that a boxer wants, for the most money, for prestige, and for undisputed. And you would obviously, your Hall of Fame status goes right off the charts if you can beat Demetrius Andrade. Didn't have to do it. right? And it's not only about didn't have to do it. It's like we're going to blackball the other guy, call you better than him anyway, right? And you get no repercussions for not doing this. That's what the issues. So why would anybody else that's not of color do that? And this is pretty much a lot of Mexicans. Ryan Garcia didn't have to fight your boy Devin Haney when he was his mandatory. He was able to talk about everything else, his Gervonta Davis or everything else, and nothing happened to him. He's still considered, him and Gervonta Davis is a fight that's not going to happen, and it's still considered a big fight, even though Ryan Garcia has got shenanigans all over it. Teofimo Lopez wins the title of lightweight division by beating Lomachenko. They just call him. They just call him undisputed, knowing that a franchise title has never, ever existed before, right? No repercussions. Jose Ramirez, we just talked about. Jaime Munguia is the mandatory for Demetrius Andrade for years. And Jamal Charlo. Nothing happens to him. Fight somebody, Korea. His last fight, I beat Korea up about 3 weeks ago, right? It's just, and who else am I missing? Look at this. Isaac Cruz, right? Shakur Stevenson coming up from 130 to 135. They order Isaac Cruz. Don't have to fight him. Nothing happens to Isaac Cruz. William Zepeda, Jose Zepeda, one of them, also said, no, I'm not doing it. Nothing's going to happen to him. So if you're a Mexican, right, I do not have to fight no brother, and ain't nothing going to happen to me. They will ask these brothers, what have they done? Who have they fought? And we can just follow this plan and nothing is going to happen. And we consider this sport. Only thing that a normal fan would ask that has no horse in the race, just wants fairness and justice, would say, okay, whoever, just avoids these fights like this, just gets put down the rankings. He does, you don't go from number 1 to just number 2 when you let the guy go by, let him cut in line and hope that something else happens, right? And then like Canelo, I'm not fighting Demetrius Andrade. You guys stripped him? Oh, okay, now I'll fight Liam Smith. I'm not fighting David Benavidez. Oh, y'all stripped him? Oh, I'll fight Yildirim. Or I'll fight Callum Smith for the WBA, and then the WBC will give me that one. And this is a sport, and this keeps happening in broad daylight. And people that are in the internet on a daily saying we know about boxing can get up in this environment and have the energy to talk about Terrence Crawford, where none of this has never existed. He's the one who people are not trying to fight. There's never been any of this ever, nowhere, never in his career. 135, I'm the baddest one here. Anybody talking before I leave? No. 140, I'm undisputed. Anybody talking before I leave? Hell no. 147, I'll beat everybody they put in front of me per knockout. And at least, here's the difference between Terrence Crawford. I'm saying I want Errol Spence. I go into negotiations and I get lowballed, and I'm still like, hey, I'll still fight, but in the meantime, I'm gonna earn this money, and I'm gonna still fight this guy. And I'm saying the name of a Jermell Charlo. Who does that? Jermell, you know how dangerous Jermell Charlo is? That would be his 4th division and wants the very best guy in Jermell Charlo. You shouldn't even be saying his name. None of these guys I just mentioned would say a name as dangerous as Jermell Charlo and mean it like Terrence Crawford. So the guys that are going in on Terrence Crawford, that know boxing, talk boxing every day, right? You have to know these things. So if you're not on the payroll, something else is wrong with you. You have to be on the payroll. Then it's understandable, but I would try to figure out how to say it, tell people without telling them. I'm kind of on the payroll. I just got to say this. I'm just, I'm just kind of saying these things I kind of don't believe when I'm saying. I'm just saying these things because how could we bash a Terrence Crawford in this environment where we see this every day? And I probably mix some. Look at all of these people. I'm going to try to name them again on what I'm thinking right now. Let me just see. We just got Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, right? That's 2. Isaac Cruz, one of the Zepedas, right? Jaime Munguia, Canelo Alvarez. That's like 6 people who are supposed to be fighting people, don't have to, and ain't nobody saying nothing. Focusing on a guy who's obviously, first of all, beat everybody's name I said. Matter of fact, let me show you how good Terrence Crawford is. If Canelo was still at 160, Terrence Crawford would go fight him. And you know what? People wouldn't want that to happen. They wouldn't want that to be figuring out why Canelo shouldn't have to do that. Like if Canelo said right now, I'll go to 160 to fight little old Terrence Crawford, Terrence Crawford would accept that fight. And if y'all let Terrence Crawford, he would fight Errol Spence for undisputed. He would fight Jamel Charlo, go up for him for undisputed. Jamel's Charlo brother would get pissed off, and Jamal, and he'll go up there to 160 to fight him. And we know it. But we are declining. We're trying to make sure he doesn't do that because that would be phenomenal, and then he'd be in the GOAT conversation. So let's not let that happen. He's 35. We only got 2 more years. Somebody's going to catch up to him now. You see him get hit in his last fight, and then he's, that's what we did. Same thing with Demetrius Andrade. Man, he's too good. What we do is we stall him out so them reflexes will slow down. We can let one of these flat-footed dudes who keep avoiding fights can probably catch up to him. Guys, focus. This is absolutely ridiculous. Another one avoids a major fight. And you need to be talking about them exclusively. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.